crypto exchange Binance moved $1.8 billion of collateral meant to back its customers' stablecoins to hedge funds last year, according to Forbes. Joining us now is the co-author of that article and Forbes Director of Data and Analytics, Javier Paz. Javier, thank you for joining us this morning. Maybe you could walk us through your article. What did Binance do wrong? I understand their reserves backing BUSD were moved to Alameda, Cumberland, etc. And your article says Binance was putting the assets to other undisclosed uses, correct?
That's correct. So what we knew before the article was that there were allegations from January 2nd, as early as January 2nd, that the Chain Argos basically mentioned that, in the research of chain data, that there was an under-collateralization of BUSD and other tokens as well, P tokens. So we also knew that, after a Bloomberg interview on around January 24th, I believe, that Bloomberg admitted to some assets being placed in the wrong account, or some assets being put in commingled, if you will. They didn't use that word. They don't like that word, but they basically put assets there. So that's kind of where we were. They had So we had some questions. We looked at the chain data as ourselves. We use Arkham and other chain explorers to try to dig a little bit further. And then that was, we wanted to get to the start of the commingling, which, up until then, they refused to answer questions. But then looking at the chain data, it seemed as if it went all the way back to November 2020. If not prior. That's the earliest date for that. So then we started asking other questions like, okay, so why does the PEG portfolio balance look like a bowl of soup? And that's, there were very straight vertical lines that not typical when you have a gradually growing kind of market or stable market. Just something was missing there. And so we started looking at, okay, so when did that happen? August 17th. What happened to the tokens that were taken? Why BUSD? Why USDC? Why just those two? In large quantities. We're talking about 1.85 billion BUSD and 1.8 USDC. So where's this going? So we try to look at also, we follow the tokens and see how they left the place where they were supposed to be, which was the PEG wallet account of Binance. These are supposed to be exchange funds. And then they made their ways to Binance 8, which was a commingled wallet with retail and exchange funds. And from there, it just went sideways to a lot of other Binance wallets, but it ended up being at Cumberland and other firms.
So CZ, the CEO of Binance, actually responded in a tweet this morning saying that the Forbes article is basically fear, uncertainty, doubt, FUD. He also said that the article called out Tron, Amber Group, Alameda Research. He's claiming that Forbes does not seem to understand the basics of how an exchange works. Our users are free to withdraw their assets anytime they want. Their withdrawals are turned into received hundreds of millions of shifted collateral in the article. What's your response to this?
Yeah, about that, I don't know that, that they can say with a straight face that others are not doing their job, but when they themselves don't know how to keep those tokens where they should be, it kind of reminds me of the Seinfeld argument. When he was, trying to get a car reserved, and the person at the counter said, "Well, we no longer have it." So he said, "You seem to be good at taking the reservation, but not so much at the holding. And the holding is the more important part." And that's what didn't happen with B tokens. They essentially received the client funds, and with those funds, they were supposed to buy the real securities that was being collateralized, and then with that, and place it safely in a place to serve as 100% collateral as they promised. But instead, they feel like in their wisdom they can grab those tokens and basically deliver them to entities, either withdrawing funds or that Binance is sending funds through somebody, and we don't know for sure which is which. Whether it was Cumberland acting in a capacity of OTC desk kind of activity, or but they certainly denied the possibility, unofficially, that they were withdrawing funds. So that's where there is a lot of mystery in terms of, if there are one-to-one, you own your token, you withdraw it, you're free to do that. Why do you have to go and raid the Binance Peg wallet? So that's one question. They should have come from cold wallets or hot wallets owned by clients, not from where they came from. They came in such large numbers that is indisputable evidence there that those tokens were in limited supply. They were, according to CoinGecko, they were about 2.3 billion USDC before August 17th. Then after that, they dwindled all the way down to 400 million, I think, or something like that, after the big raid. So they were all tied up in the Peg wallet account. So why does that happen?
But I just want to simplify this a moment, though, because just for people who are not following this carefully, right? We have CZ saying very clearly that Forbes is referring to old blockchain transactions that our clients have done, right? So he's saying that these transactions were done by clients or customers. Are you saying that is just not true? Like you two are saying two completely different things, right? I mean, you're talking about raids and Binance doing stuff. So I just want to be very clear about this. Are you saying that what CZ is saying is just not true?
I believe it's not true. I believe it's a mischaracterization of what happens. I think he's trying to, keep his people under control, and kind of, it's a big, bad media again, make them look bad, picking on that bone. But the fact is, he's so aggressive that he's gone, after so much of the market share of the market, that that he's gotten, very cocky and probably not, in terms of.
But shouldn't, just putting aside, thoughts about CZ, like shouldn't this be something that's knowable, though? I mean, shouldn't there be a way to see? I mean, this should be something that should be provable one way or another, right? Like either these transactions were sent by customers or they weren't, right?
Yeah. So. We know that I have the feeling that some of there's two categories of transfers. The reasoning behind transfers, they have everyday client who withdraws their tokens, takes them somewhere else. And then there is institutional activity that is more arm's length, maybe part of a bigger derivative trade, a lot of hedging in different institutions, maybe different assets. So in this case, we're talking about such large quantities, and I've tracked the deposits done by Cumberland as well. It's not like I haven't, and they have been in smaller increments in many tokens, not just USDC. So when they were when they were receiving those funds being sent by 3 different Binance wallets. They were taken primarily, I would say virtually all of it in USDC. So they send in initially Ether and USDT and many other tokens. They withdraw USDC. So it may be because it's the most liquid, one of the most liquid, but they certainly didn't pick BUSD, didn't pick USDT. So it was USDC. So why, that particular token, I don't know. So there are mysteries still. I think what we have done is just merely shed light on a lot of interesting transactions and liberties that Binance is taking for itself to make use of client funds, because they have a special ledger where they can track these things, where money goes. But that's very reminiscent of what FTX was supposedly doing, although on the face they deny it. And yeah.
Back in September, Binance began this auto conversion of other stablecoins into BUSD, and I assume that was into BUSD, the pegged version, correct? Do the transactions that you're citing have anything to do with that auto conversion at all? Was it a form of maintenance, if you will, or a way they accumulate as much USDC as they needed or had, and they had no way to get rid of it other than to maybe send it out to the Cumberlands of the world, try to get yield off of it because they can't otherwise. And when you have interest rates at 4%, all of a sudden it starts to become painful to miss a couple $100,000 a day and on a couple of $1 billion in interest income that you could get. I'm wondering, is there any connection with that either you might have missed or that you can account for? Was that a significant factor in all of these transactions?
In order for that to be true, there has to be some revenue sharing going on where I don't know exactly the terms between Paxos and Binance in terms of BUSD, and who gets to keep the yield on that currency. But somehow the money going out from the exchange have to come back to benefit BUSD in that regard. Otherwise, it's just they boosted after August 17th, are very arbitrarily, the use of BUSD. And then the forced conversion did so again, it inflated BUSD arbitrarily. But then, it started going down, and $6-7 billion worth of decreases, particularly through December 12th. So I think initially it was a bit of an ego thing, or support of BUSD, and then that. They were pushing hard for BUSD to become, one of the most popular stablecoins. And BUSD, and CZ was reminding us every day, or very often that, this is a regulated, one of the very few regulated, issued by EY, audited bank. But at the end of the day, now he is like, not recognizing and saying that it's not Binance.
I wonder if you could talk a bit about the commingling of funds. So this is something that was, and really what brought down FTX, and that they were commingling funds with Alameda Research, their sister hedge fund. And you're saying that, well, the same commingling of funds is happening here in Binance. What evidence do you have? And parse that out for us if you could.
Sure. So when the funds are going into the Binance Peg account, Peg wallet, they're leaving Binance 8. That is a cold wallet by Binance admission. That is where there are retail funds, and you can check that right now. Go to Arkham. Go to you can see that there's large volumes there of $18 billion worth of money. But here's the thing: when Binance gave us the wallet IDs for some 60 or 70 wallets, he didn't tell us that in this here's my money basically, and you can go and check the balances. But he didn't tell us that many of those are internal Binance owned funds. So how are we supposed to know what is clients and the exchanges? We don't know for sure. So these are things that kind of became clear as we looked at the data and how funds were traveling from the Peg wallet to Binance 8 to Binance 14 and from Binance 14 to 15 and 16. And then on to, these are hot wallets, the last three. And then from there, they go to clients. So that travel of the money, if you will, is somewhat problematic. I think it should have never started with the PEG wallet. They should have just, any withdrawal should start with a hot wallet or a cold wallet owned by clients. And maybe in the initial setup, Binance put the two together thinking we're never going to share this address. But lo and behold, in August, at the end of November, when things were going really bad for FTX, I think kind of like the industry was forced.
All right. Patrick Hillman, the chief strategy officer of Binance, was supposed to come on to First Mover this week. He decided not to. We have not heard back, but we do have a statement sent to CoinDesk from a Binance spokesperson saying that the exchange has, quote, never invested or otherwise deployed user assets without consent under the terms of specific products. Binance holds all of its clients' assets in segregated accounts, which are identified separately from any accounts used to hold assets belonging to Binance. The spokesperson also said that the transactions identified by Forbes relate to internal wallet management and did not affect the collateralization of user assets.